Before we get into today's episode, I have a special announcement that, besides my kids, might be the best thing I've ever created. You want to know the secret to actually becoming who you're meant to be without getting lost in either pure science or woo-woo spirituality? Well, here's the thing. It's not about becoming some perfect version of yourself that feels impossible to maintain. It's more about understanding who you really are and what you love, and then creating a life around that. And that's exactly why I created Living Mind Love. Each month, we combine brain science with soul wisdom to help you make real changes that stick. Everything I've learned from nearly 500 interviews with the world's most brilliant minds, broken down into tiny little shifts that feel natural and actually work. So this is about bringing together science and soul in a way that actually works. Plus, you'll be part of the first ever Mind Love community on School, so we get to figure this all out together. So if you want to make 2025 your best year ever, go to mindlove.com/living to join the waitlist, and you'll get instant access to my 10-year vision meditation. So let's get into today's episode. Welcome to Mind Love, episode 194. Today's episode is all about understanding your child's astrology birth chart. This episode is also great even if you don't have children, because you'll get a ton of insight into understanding your own chart or someone else that you love.
Not everybody is their sun sign. Like he's sun sign in Pisces. If he had 4 planets in Aries, he wouldn't be as Piscean, right? He would be kind of with an Aries influence, right? But when you look at the overall picture of the chart, the overall kind of essence and what is the purpose of my life, astrology works when you look at the big picture. When you look at the small little pieces, sometimes, I had some people's like, well, I read about my sun sign and I really seem more like this other sign. Well, if they've got 5 planets in another sign, they'll have that other sign personality. Every single person, all the 50,000 charts that I've done, their chart works. This God's clock in the sky, really, that is this perfect geometry. And of course, the solar system is the most accurate clock, in the universe. So it's just learning how to read it.
Turn up your frequency with Mind Love. Bite-sized brain hacks for seekers, dreamers, and doers. It's time to give your mind a little love with your host, Melissa Monti.
Hello, my love. If you have not yet subscribed, please hit that cute little button. Subscribing, sharing, and 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts are a really great way to give back if you find this show helpful. They help the show climb the charts, which helps more people find it and helps me get even better guests for you. Today, I want to read a review that meant so much to me. I'm actually going to use the first line of this on my website. It's by Alexis Applegate, who says, "I can actually feel myself healing when I listen to Mind Love. Not only is Melissa's voice soothing, but her wisdom and intelligence sparks inspiration, no matter what the topic is. Her expert guests are incredibly well-researched and give thoughtful language to the feelings, emotions, and thoughts that I'm usually struggling to identify or learn about. I've listened to this podcast for 3 years, and I have not found an episode I don't like. I listen when I need to feel grounded and gain perspective. So thank you, Melissa, for creating a beautiful, intelligent, and thoughtful space." You have no idea how much this review meant to me. And yes, thank you for an amazing quote I can use on my website. I am sending you so much love today. You guys, I did the coolest thing recently. I got my baby Bravery's astrology chart done by the best person that I could find online. And wow, I am so glad that I did. In a nutshell, a birth chart explains where the planets were in the sky at the date and time of a birth. It's like a snapshot or a map of the position of the planets or the stars at the time of a birth. So each planet has a different effect on an aspect of a life. For some, it sounds like total woo, and I do love the woo, but think about it. The alignment of the planets have a powerful effect on the tides of the oceans, and we are mostly water. So why wouldn't it affect us too? To get your baby's birth chart, you need the date, the exact time, to the minute if possible, and the location where your baby was born. Most people only know their sun signs, and if you're only reading your sun sign horoscope, or your baby's or child or partner's, you're not getting a full picture at all. That would kind of be like reading someone's Instagram bio and expecting to know what their personality is from there. Well, the next step up is understanding yours or your baby's rising and moon signs. And then a level up from that is understanding the other planets' placements and then the geometry between them all, or how they relate to one another. So when I went to get Bravery's chart done, I assumed beforehand that I would just understand him and maybe his mission in life a little bit better. And I did. But what surprised me was how actionable this information would be right now. Somehow it made me feel more comfortable in the ways to parent him. It also made me feel more confident that the way he came into the world was exactly as it was meant to be. So, for example, my transfer to a hospital an hour away from where I planned to give birth actually affected his birth chart. And his birth chart clearly shows a combo of skills and talents from me and his dad. So that says to me that that hospital transfer was necessary for my baby to be who he is. And the only thing I can feel about that is gratitude. You'll definitely hear some of the insights that I got from this interview that will help you in interpreting your chart or your baby's chart. And this episode is really eye-opening whether your baby is grown or whether you don't even have children at all, because it gives a ton of insight into any relationship, including the relationship with yourself. Our guest is Susie Cox. She's been a professional astrologer since 1971, during which time she has interpreted over 50,000 individual charts. From 1981 to 2013, she was employed as an astrologer at the prestigious Canyon Ranch Health Spa, and she was even appointed master astrologer in 2006. Her clients include A-list celebrities, business leaders, royalty, and politicians from all around the world. So 3 key things we will learn are how knowing your baby's birth chart can help you become a more confident parent. What happens if it seems your chart is incompatible with your baby's or anyone else in your life? And why now is an amazing time to bring children into the world, despite what it seems like from the outside. But before we get started, I want to invite you to join the thousands of people who are waking up to the morning mind love. Every weekday morning, you get a little love letter from the cosmos to help you start the day on the right foot. Plus, when you sign up, you get 2 free gifts, a 30-minute binaural meditation, and 30 days of self-reflective journaling prompts to help you grow. And it is all completely free. So go to mindlove.com to sign up. Or if you're out and about, text the word morning to 33777. And now let's welcome Susie Cox to the show.
I'm so glad to be here, Melissa. This is so much fun.
So I know you've been doing astrology for a really long time. So how did you get your start in it?
That's a great story. I was raised by my great aunt. My mom had 4 kids under 5 years old, so she kind of took me, and she had astrology all over the house. So I really knew astrology before I could read, before I could talk, and I knew all the symbols. It's easy for kids to learn astrology because it's all symbolic. So Venus is female symbol, Mars is the male symbol, the moon looks like a moon. So I knew all that, and I was 4 years old. I'm going to be an astrologer when I grow up. And that's all I ever did. And I went to astronomy, university for astronomy, so I could really understand it. And I'm as obsessed now as I was when I was 4 years old. So it's my calling for sure.
I feel like astronomy has kind of taken off more in the last few decades, but you started way before that. What has been the difference between when you first started in astrology to now? Have you found that more people are curious about it?
Well, and yes, it's true. And the turning point is when Nancy Reagan had her chart done. Because I was working at Canyon Ranch then, and remember it came out that, that she was doing astrology for Ronald Reagan. And all of a sudden, at that point, everybody thought, well, gee, if Nancy can do astrology, I guess I can. Astrology got much busier at Canyon Ranch. I was a staff astrologer there for 32 years. But I noticed a difference. Before, it was like, oh, what is this? And then after that, it was like everybody was loving it. Now people are like, oh, what's your sun, moon, and rising? So people really know more about astrology than they used to. Absolutely.
Yeah, I found you because I was looking for the absolute best person I could find to do my baby's reading for me, because I know that when I actually got a full reading, it was so eye-opening. Earlier than that, I had only really ever known my sun sign. So whatever I read in like the back of a magazine when I looked up Taurus. And when I actually saw how all of these planets work together, the difference with the rising sign and the moon sign, and how all of these things form a more complete personality, I I just got really curious about how that could help me understand my baby better too. So I'm wondering, how can knowing your baby's chart help you understand your baby? What types of insights does it give?
Boy, so much. The birth chart defines your purpose in life. And it really shows your talents, what you're best at. It shows your tendencies. It shows your life patterns. It also shows your challenges. So you can really, when you get to know the birth chart, you get to know really who this person is. And as a parent, knowing who your little baby is, you can help them, kind of guide them into a better way of becoming the best version. This astrology chart this is the best version of this person. So as a parent, understanding really what the best version of your child is wonderful, because you can help them become that. And we did bravery. We did your son's chart just a couple of days ago. So you're fresh understanding his birth chart.
Yes, I loved the experience so much. I am so excited for my husband to understand the chart as well, because it's just so interesting how so much of his chart, it's just like an exact combination of me and my husband with little pieces of our grandparents. And so it's not just this random thing where it's like, oh, well, this is random information about a random baby. It does really feel like he fits into our family, which blows my mind, because when you look up a chart like this, when you get a reading like this, you have to know the exact place, like the coordinates of the world, the exact time, the date. And so what does that say about how a baby comes into this world, that these things that seem seemingly random actually end up building a little human that is a combination of its parents? Like they're like two disconnects for a lot of people.
Well, my feeling is that the baby, we're soul, we're divine, right? And before we come into reincarnate into this lifetime, we say, what do I want to do? And how do I want to accomplish this? And what are my parents? And who do I want to come in with? So I really feel that this all started kind of with a sense of in between lifetimes. You say, okay, of course we have like a soul group that we travel with for different lifetimes. So I want to come in with these parents. And we don't say, oh, I want to be a model and I'm going to be rich and I'm going to be born in Paris and I'm just going to cruise this lifetime. We really came in here to say, what is my mission? What is my purpose? And astrology, the birth chart, defines your purpose in life. So it really shows that. And then we choose our parents. We choose when we want to come in, which is a fascinating time now. We're just coming out of, luckily, this pandemic. And a lot of babies decided to come in right in the middle of the pandemic, as bravery, did, really. And that's one of the reasons you named him Bravery, because he was brave enough to come in during a pandemic, right?
Yes. You actually said during our reading together that you're seeing differences in the babies that are coming in the last couple of years. What differences are you noticing?
Well, there are a lot of planets that were in the sign of Capricorn, and I named it the Capricorn party. There was Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter. They were all in Capricorn, and Capricorn is really about, limitations, closing down. Hibernation belongs to Capricorn. And so now I've been studying this, 2020 for maybe about the last 5 years. I didn't know it was going to be a pandemic, but I knew it was going to be a real important turning point, just because these planets are very, very rarely grouped together. And so the world really is changing. So now these couple of these planets, the Saturn and Jupiter part of it, went into the sign of Aquarius. And Capricorn is the end of the old. Aquarius is the beginning of the new. So these kids are like, okay, we want to come in at the beginning of this new era, where this is the very, very birth of the Aquarian age. Is really what's happening. And now what is Aquarius? Aquarius is grassroots, community. And boy, hasn't community become important, with everybody being in lockdown. We're kind of creating our own new communities. Of course, Aquarius is also about computers and high tech. Everybody's Zooming. We're on Zoom right now. So Zoom has become a very popular thing. Remote learning, the kids that are in school are learning remotely. All this is a very Aquarian. So these kids that are being born right now wanted to come in to help usher in this new age, usher in this new change. And they came in with maybe not that easiest time to come in, but with a sense of drivenness and a sense of optimism. These new spirits can really help this next phase become reality. And I'm doing a lot of newborn babies charts right now. There are a lot of little souls that are wanting to come in right now, and they're all really incredible. I mean, they've all got incredible charts. Not that, adults don't have an amazing chart, but these charts are different. They're, I would say, fearless. It's almost like, coming in to make changes. And it's interesting when we talked about Bravery's chart, a lot of people, the chart shows your challenges, and it also shows your talents. And a lot of people have challenges relating to not knowing who they are, or health, or relationships, or, kind of inward work. As far as I can see from these babies, they're here like, I'm fine. I don't really have any challenges personally. I'm here to help change the world. So it's almost like they didn't have as many issues to deal with as their parents, and they're here to help change the world right now. And they all came kind of clean. Bravery has a real clean chart, and it's not about relationships. It's not about his health. It's about him wanting to make the world a better place. And of course, his parents are very entrepreneurial and wanting to help the world too. That's why, you're doing what you're doing. And he came in with that same vibration. So his chart is clean. He's clean. He doesn't have a lot of personal challenges. And that's what I'm seeing with a lot of these newborns that are coming in right now, which makes total sense when you look at the overall picture of the world now.
Before we go deep today, I want to give you a little gift, and I want to give it to you every single day. It's called the Morning Mind Love. I know how life can be. You're all fired up after an inspiring episode, and then a new day or a new challenge comes at you, and it's just hard to keep up that energy. Well, the Morning Mind Love is kind of like an oracle from your higher self to help you start each day with a positive focus. Plus, when you sign up, you get 2 free gifts, a 30-minute binaural meditation and 30 days of journaling prompts to help you remember who you truly are. And it's all completely free. So join over 9,000 people and go to mindlove.com to sign up, or text the word morning to 33777. Let's talk about legacy for a minute. We're all working so hard on personal growth and building better lives and creating something meaningful. But how do we protect everything we're building? Look, I know life insurance isn't the sexiest topic, but it might be one of the most loving things you can do for your family. We kept putting it off. It's funny how things never feel like a priority until you need it, which is the total wrong way to approach life insurance. But now that we have kids, there is no way I'm taking a chance that they won't be taken care of if something happens to me. So suddenly, this was our number one priority. And SelectQuote makes it surprisingly simple. They're one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience helping over 2 million customers. What makes them different is just how personal it is. Their licensed agents take the time to understand your specific situation so that they can find you the right coverage. We're talking 15 minutes to get exactly what you need. And I love that they actually reward you for all the self-work you're doing. So if you're in good health, you could get same-day coverage for up to $5 million. No medical exam needed. And it's way more affordable than you might think. Coverage up to $1 million could cost as little as $20 per month. So get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/mindlove. Go to selectquote.com/mindlove today to get started. That's selectquote.com/mindlove. It actually gave me a lot of comfort because I shared with you a little bit about my birth story. I was planning to give birth at a birthing center, and after 54 hours of labor, I finally transferred to a hospital out of exhaustion. But that hospital was an hour away, and I was having contractions every 3 minutes on the drive there. And I just had a lot of fear because I had this birth plan, and then everything was now changing. And so I had a few signs on my way there, like whenever the clock says 5:14, since my birthday is May 14th, I consider that a sign. And there were a few other things on the drive there. I happened to look at the clock at that time. But knowing too that the exact destination that Brave was born matters in how his chart is constructed. And so it almost seems like he chose that. He knew that was going to happen.
That's right. To have your birth chart done, you need name, birth date and year, location, and time of birth. So the location makes a difference. You need the latitude and longitude and time zone zone. So yeah, it was like, I don't want to be born there. I want to be here. At that time. So I really feel like every baby is in charge of when they want to be born. It wasn't just haphazard or whatever. It was like he knew it. And he really is a combination of his mom and his dad and his grandfather too. So it was so interesting that I could see some of the family members within his chart. But his chart is clean and I would say purposeful. He came here for a reason, and it wasn't to him figure himself out. He really already knows who he is. He's really here to kind of, make some changes in the world in a more positive way. And that's what I'm seeing with a lot of these newborn babies charts. They're clean and ready to, like they're going to hit the ground running. They're ready to get stuff done. And it's not to just figure out who they are. Some of my charts are what I call the lost puppies. They don't know who they are. They don't have a passion. They're kind of lost. They're like, I don't know what my life's about. And not with these newborns. They know who they are and they're ready to do some work. So there is a difference.
You had mentioned that before 2020, you didn't see a pandemic coming, but you knew something was happening because those planets weren't always clustered together. It was rare for those planets to be together.
Right.
What were you able to see?
Well, I could see that it was a turning point in history. Now, I was focusing on a weird election. Of course, we had that too. But really, all astrologers, well, not all astrologers, but really good astrologers were studying this because it was such a rare alignment of the planets. So I knew it was going to be a structural change. Capricorn, these planets that were in Capricorn, was really all about money and business. And the whole world was shut down. And I called it. I called it because I write a newsletter every month. And before the next year, I do what I call preview of 2020 or whatever. So in like November 2019, I was, writing about a preview of 2020. And there were all these planets in Capricorn. And the third week in March 2020, Mars went in and joined all these planets in Capricorn. So in late 2019, I said, mid-March is the time when all business and everything's going to change. Well, like in one day, the entire world was shut down. And it was mid-March 2020, right? So I called it like 8 months ahead without even really knowing what exactly it was. But I knew, Capricorn is about business. It's about structure. It's about government. It's associated with Saturn. So it really has a sense of how things get accomplished in the world. And business. A lot of businesses have shut down. And it's interesting because going into Aquarius is much more entrepreneurial. And a lot of people, maybe out of necessity, have done a new business. I've got a friend who was working at a restaurant. The restaurant closed. And she said, I make the best cookies of anybody I know. She opened up an online bakery. She's so much happier than working at a restaurant. She's working for herself. So there's a lot of entrepreneurial energy that's happened. There, of course, are some positive things out of this. I've got a good friend that said, if you couldn't see this astrologically, Susie, I'd be scared. But since you can see it, I know that it's all meant to be. And she was absolutely right. Because if I called it 8 months ahead of time, exactly on the day when the world was shut down, that was meant to be, right? So now that we've gone into Aquarius, people are being more independent and more computer savvy and more kind of entrepreneurial. That's a whole new phase that started. So these newborn babies wanted to come in with a new phase to help that. Of course, these kids are going to be born hardwired. They're going to be able to teach you about computers, and you're pretty good with computers, So, yeah. So they knew exactly when they wanted to come in, and they came in at the perfect time. So I could see all this, but of course, you don't know all the details. I knew it was going to be like a world reset relating to business, but I didn't know the reason why.
Well, I know that with the babies, and you're looking at your baby's chart, most people only know just their sun sign, like Pisces or Taurus or Aquarius or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said earlier, understanding the rising sign and the moon sign can give you such a more complete picture, along with all of the other details you were able to give me. But to start, what is the sun sign limited to? What does that teach people about someone else?
But yeah, sun, moon, and rising, those are the main parts that everybody needs to know, kind of the basic parts of every chart. The sun sign is the inner essence. It's really who the person is inside, which is your birthday. So sun's in Aries, sun's in Taurus, Gravery's sun is in Pisces, right? So that's kind of the inner essence of who the person is. Sun, the moon's emotions. The moon is their emotions, how the person is emotionally, and kind of their sensitivity. And then the rising sign is the sign of the zodiac that's coming up above the horizon when a person was born. The rising sign is your outside personality, how the world sees you, or your outside mask, which is different than who you are inside or your emotional makeup. So the sun, moon, and rising are the three main parts of everybody's chart. And then you put it together with where all the rest of the planets are. Each planet has a job. Mars is action. Venus is love. Jupiter is abundance. So every planet is Saturn is work. So every planet has a different job, really. And the trick is the geometry between it. How do the planets get along with each other? How do they interact with each other? Which goes into sacred geometry. Sacred geometry is this mandala in the sky, which is the geometric configuration between the planets. And everybody has a different pattern. And so you take takes an astrologer or somebody who knows astrology well to be able to see that. But you can see the challenging parts of the person. You can see the talents. You can see how they all connect with each other. There are 12 houses in the astrology chart. Houses are individual areas in your life. What I say is the houses are where the planets live. So the first house, second house, first house is the self, second house, money, third house, the mind, fourth house, the whole early upbringing, fifth house, creativity, sixth house, the body and the health. You can tell the health from the person with the sixth house, seventh house, relationships, marriage, eighth house is other people's money, investments and business. Ninth house, higher mind, philosophy, belief system, searching for the meaning for life. 10th house, career, occupation. 11th house, goals in life. And the 12th house, I've named the house of spirit. It's like meditation and prayer, who we are inside. So those are the different houses. So depending on what planet you have in what house, it comes out in that area. Can I say a couple things about Bravery's chart?
Yeah, you can share whatever you want about Bravery's chart.
And I said it right,
Yeah.
But that's why I asked, because this is all very personal. So I didn't want to just start talking about his chart before I got your permission. It's kind of the code of ethics with astrologers. And but one of the main things, one of the cool parts of his chart is the sixth house is his body. And he has Mars in the sign of Taurus in his sixth house. Mars is athletic. Mars is the warrior. Mars is strong and powerful. And then it's in the sign of Taurus is really sturdy and a strong body. And when I got there, it was like, is he strong? Does he have a strong, sturdy body? And you said, he just came out and he was muscular. Of course, his dad is like a major athlete.
Yep.
Right? So this Mars, in Bravery's, and just name Bravery. I mean, I'll tell you, when he is an athlete, when he's old enough to really do this, his name is going to be so perfect for him. So since his dad's a big athlete, Bravery has Mars in his sixth house. He's going to be, I understand he's going to be on a snowboard, like maybe before he can walk, right?
That's his dad's plan. Yeah.
That's what I think, So you can see that in the chart. You can see and say he's got a nice, strong, sturdy body. And he goes, yeah, he's masculine. His dad, he's muscular. His dad's strong and muscular too. So you see, he kind of inherited that in a certain way, from his dad. So you can see those kind of things in the chart really easily.
Another interesting thing about Bravery's chart is that a lot of the houses were empty. And if I were reading that on my own without a professional, I'd be like, wait, so he doesn't have spirituality or he doesn't have this? But what can that symbolize?
Yeah, the empty houses, what I say, are the areas that we've resolved in previous lives. So in Bravery's chart, he's got a big grouping of planets in Aquarius and Pisces, and 80% of his chart are in 2 houses. So he has 1, 2, I've got his chart in front of me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has 6 empty houses. The most empty houses I've ever seen is 7. Now, empty is a good thing. We want empty because what I said is empty is like, I got this figured out in previous lives. This is not an area that I need to focus on. It's nice to know your priorities. What are important and what is not important? If, you don't have to focus on the areas that are not important because they're going to take care of themselves. Where your eye gets drawn and really where the planets are is really where the focus is. So the empty houses are a good thing. It's like, we checked that off from a previous life, and that's not the main area that he's here to struggle with. So, or here to focus on. So his houses of relationships, including his early upbringing, his home life, are all empty, which I really love because I'm not giving the parents any homework. Because it's not like, oh, wow, he has to really work through his parents to understand who he is. No, you guys are out of the loop. He knows exactly who he is, and this is not a relationship chart. So it's nice to know that. So, so you can kind of he's not going to be dealing with that. He's going to be dealing with his work. And, once again, helping the world, coming in with this Aquarius feeling. So, which is so perfect because that's what his parents are doing too. Helping nonprofits, you're doing all this wonderful podcasts to kind of bring positivity and joy to the world. So he's going to be continuing doing that. So the empty houses, clean and clear, and they just come easily because we don't have to really work on them because we kind of know them in our heart from a previous life. So that's the way I interpret empty houses. Yeah. And he has a lot of them. So he's an old soul. He's been around many, many lifetimes and came here to really focus on help and coming in at this important time so he could really help move the world forward in a positive way. And that's really what his homework is. It wasn't like I'm needing to figure out me or I have to work on my health or, I'm understanding my family. He already has that. So a lot of the basic parts of his chart, like the personal parts, are taken care of. He's here to kind of jump into the world to help it move forward. So he's got a high level chart. But once again, I've seen with these new babies, they all kind of have that theme. So I think it's just kind of fascinating. I'm just so enamored and in awe of astrology. Every chart that I do is absolutely the person. I mean, this is this person's life, and it's priceless information. It's like, what's my purpose in life? That's priceless. What are the areas that I don't have to really deal with? That's also priceless. So you can focus on the important part and just let go of the rest of it, which are the empty houses. Good question, dear.
I like how the empty houses don't just tell you about what you've resolved, but the fact that I can also tell you if you're an old soul or a new soul. And so does that mean if there was planets in almost every house, would that mean, or would that be likely that somebody is a newer soul coming in?
Well, we've been around so many times. So but a new soul is really more like, I want to experience it all. And only 2 houses empty. Like, Bravery has 6 empty. He only had 2 empty, and all the planets are all spread out around all the rest of the houses. The person wants to be involved with this and wants to do this and wants to do that, and, and is really curious and wants to be involved with a lot of areas, which can be a little scattered. Versus Bravery's chart, he wants to do this. He's kind of focused on a couple of areas. And so it's kind of a little bit easier, I think, with these kind of charts. But, some people want to live it all, want to experience it all and see which one works for them. And there's no judgment. It's not like this is a good chart, this is a bad chart. Every chart is good. Every chart is perfect for the person. Even though some people, it's like, oh, I'm glad I don't have that chart. For them, the person that has it, that's what they're here to accomplish. So every chart is perfect for the person. And like I said, I've got 50,000 charts under my belt, over the years. And not everybody is their sun sign. If you're, like he's sun sign in Pisces, if he had 4 planets in Aries, he wouldn't be as Piscean, right? He would be kind of with an Aries influence, right? But when you look at the overall picture of the chart, the overall kind of essence and what is the purpose of my life, every single person, all the 50,000 charts that I've done, their chart works. Astrology works when you look at the big picture. When you look at the small little pieces, sometimes, I had some people like, well, I read about my sun sign and I really seem more like this other sign. Well, if they've got 5 planets in another sign, they'll have that other sign personality. But when you look at the overall picture absolutely works with every single person. It's just like, it's, this God's clock in the sky, really, that is this perfect geometry. And of course, the solar system is the most accurate clock, in the universe. So it's just learning how to read it, really.
Growing a business is a lot like personal growth. You need the right tools and the right support system. But finding those perfect team members, that can kind of feel like searching for a unicorn, which is why I'm excited about Indeed's approach. Instead of endless searching, they focus on matching. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. It's a matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors. And here's what makes it so special. Their technology actually learns what works for you. So the more you use it, the better it gets at finding people who align with your vision. Think of it as your hiring meditation app. It helps you cut through the noise and focus on what matters. You can schedule, screen, and message candidates all in one place. And it works. 93% of employers say Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites. And that's why more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide trust Indeed to help them hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/mindlove. Just go to Indeed.com/mindlove right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/mindlove. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. I don't know why it took me so long to invest in good bedding. I resisted it for years, but something flipped in me about 3 years ago. And now I'm basically a pillow connoisseur. I've tried them all, and I get weirdly excited about good bedding. Because here's the thing, we spend a third of our lives in bed, and the quality of that time affects literally everything else, which is why I'm so excited to tell you about my latest obsession, Lagoon Sleep Pillows. What sets them apart is their matching system. You take a quick 2-minute quiz about your sleep style and your preferences, and then they match you with your perfect pillow. I was matched with their Otter pillow, and I am so impressed. Lately, I've just needed more support, and this seems to cradle me in all the right places. I'm also low-key obsessed with their travel pillow, which I use for way more than just travel. I actually hug it, use it as leg support, and of course, take it on trips with me. Well, the secret is in their adjustable fill. You can add or remove it to get that perfect alignment for your spine. A study even found that the right supportive pillow can improve sleep quality by 63%. And Lagoon lets you try their matched pillow for 100 nights risk-free. Free returns, no questions asked. Falling asleep has never been easier. I toss and turn less and just wake up feeling refreshed every morning. Go to lagoonsleep.com and take their awesome 2-minute sleep quiz to find your match. Use the code MIND for 15% off your first purchase. When we were waiting for Bravery to bless us with his presence, we were taking, we had like a pool of people guessing when the date was going to be. And my sister-in-law guessed early and she's like, I don't know. I just have a feeling. She's also a very intuitive person. And she's like, I just have a feeling he's going to have Aquarius energy. And I was looking at Aquarius. I was like, ooh, Aquarius does look pretty good. But I was also leaning towards Pisces because I tend to get along with Pisces well. I am an intuitive and emotional. And so I was like, well, I don't know. Now I like Aquarius. I can't decide. And when you were showing me Bravery's chart, he actually had, he had a lot of Aquarius in there, right?
He's got 2 planets in Pisces, but he's got 4 planets in Aquarius. So he's a perfect example of, he's Piscean, which are soft and gentle and spiritual and intuitive, but these planets in Aquarius will definitely flavor it. And Aquarians are independent, entrepreneurial, exciting, wanting to try new things, very adventurous. Adventurousness does not belong to Pisces. Pisces is more intuition, but Aquarius is adventurous, so he's got a little bit of both. Which is and it is like, he's got the Pisces, but he's also got Aquarius in him. So you were both right, really, which is pretty cool.
So as we talked about, he had a bunch of empty houses, and then there was a cluster in just a few houses.
Yes.
Other than telling you maybe what somebody might need to resolve, or also their mission, how do you interpret a chart that has a cluster of planets in a small area?
Right. Well, that is, what I say is, where does your eye get drawn? Wherever you're like, oh, what's happening down here in the chart? That's the most important part of the chart. And all the geometry goes to that because, this is the sacred geometry in the sky. So all the planets angle towards each other. So it's not only the cluster of planets, but how it interacts with the rest of the chart. So I always start there. I always start with the sun, moon, and rising, just to kind of get to know the overall feeling of the chart. But like in Bravery's chart, he's got a cluster in his second house of money, his money, the third house of his mind. So it's really about what he learns and how he wants to communicate. He's going to turn that into his business, which is kind of what his parents are doing. I mean, you interview people, or helping software, helping nonprofits. It really, he's going to go in perfectly with his family. So, and the biggest, the house that has more planets in it is his house of money. He's going to be successful. I know he's only 4 months old, but you can see that he's going to be financially successful when he grows up. So, and then you can see that and say, I would allow him to be involved. If he's interested, even as as a young child, if he's interested in kind of doing some things that his parents are doing, let him go along with you, because, and I said this, I remember this, he's going to take over the family business.
That made my husband so happy.
Yeah, he will, so I would let him kind of hang out, with his dad and learn things from him, because that's what he's really here to do. So it was an easy one and he has a very easy chart to interpret, just because it's all kind of in one spot, which is very cool.
And you were able to give me a good amount of actionable things to do with Bravery, such as some of the things you said is he'd be good with swimming lessons early, and his relationship with another pet would be really strong. And so to start giving him tasks early, like feeding the dog or giving the dog water, or instead of having play tools, actually have real tools to some extent that he can start to play with and build real things and do projects with his dad. And so things like that were really exciting for me, because it wasn't just like this concept. It was real things that I can prepare to do with my baby when he's young. And so I'm curious though, for the people that might be looking at their baby's charts and it is a more scattered chart, how do you best support your baby with something like that?
Well, unless you're an astrologer or know astrology really well, you kind of have to have your chart done, because, a lot of this insights takes a professional astrologer to really kind of figure it out. You can look at some online and everything. It's a little bit more vague. Some people really love to study, online and get astrology books. But a lot of the insights that I gave, it really took me, 50,000 charts to figure out. Like one, he's got his moon in the sign of Cancer. So I said, do you have any pets? Yeah, we have a dog. Well, as soon as he can, because moon is emotions, Cancer is nurturing and helping, and it would be really good for, I said, let him, as soon as he can, let him feed the dog. Let him get used to nurturing, pets or other people. I could see that in his chart. The other one is he's got Mercury right next to Saturn. Mercury is his mind. Saturn is discipline and pulling things together, is often seen with an engineer or someone who is a builder that puts things together, and it's in his house of money. So I was like, instead of having a toy box, he might want to have a toolbox. little baby tools or, Legos or blocks that he can kind of build things with. I think that'd be better than like a fluffy stuffed animal. Maybe the stuffed animal would be great for his Pisces sun going to sleep. But when he gets up, he wants to do something. He wants to build things. He's going to be a builder. I think he's going to be an inventor because they're in Aquarius, and Aquarius is the genius and the inventor of the zodiac. So I think he's going to combine structure, putting things together and then turn it into high tech. So he's going to like combine the physical with the electronic. And like robot or something. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what he gets into as he starts, growing up.
I can't wait to teach him to code. It'll make my website so much cheaper. But
he will learn it. He will understand it. He will be giving you ideas. You think you're teaching him? No, it's the other way around, dear. It really is, As soon as he can really be old enough to kind of do it, he's going to kind of take charge and do it the way he wants. And you're like, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. So,
and I recently learned that if you hire your children, you can actually hire your children with your own business by like the age of 12 and get huge tax write-offs. So I am so excited about this.
Oh, interesting. You have to wait till they're 12 to do it?
I don't know the exact details, but for some reason that number's popping into my mind. I'll have to ask my husband.
Yeah, he's going to be part of your business. You can see it right away. And it's amazing. Some of these kids are, incredible how they see things because they're hardwired a little bit differently than we are. Even though you're high tech and computer ease, and so is your husband, this is a new generation that's going to see it in a new and different way. So it'll be really fun to see how when he starts teaching you.
And again, it's one of those things where my husband is a builder as well. So was his dad. And so every place that we've ever lived, my husband has built a loft there. If you see our living room, one wall is all like a rock climbing wall, and he built his own in-home gym. So he is so excited to build. And I actually got this personalized book for him for Father's Day. A company called Hooray Heroes. They are not a sponsor. I just found them and they were awesome. And I got this book, and you get to pick the stories that you put in. So I chose the ones that were relevant. And there's a whole section about him building a treehouse with Brave. And so now that I shared with him this information, he's like, oh my gosh, I need to start ordering baby tools. Like, which tools will be effective? So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, it's easy to see it in his chart. It just jumped right off of his chart. So, and he's an athlete. What was he best at? We talked about his challenges and, challenges. And, it's funny. That's why these new babies, it wasn't like a challenge like, I don't know who I am, or I'm figuring myself out, or his challenges are, how can I build something that will be, useful for society? And he's got a strong spirituality about him. But his challenges are, he wants to get things done and he wants to do it. So it's not like a personal challenge like conflicts inside of him, which is really kind of rare. Most people really have, personal issues they deal with. This is not very personal. It's more like I'm here to help the world. And his talents, what is he best at? One, he's really smart, like super smart, and can kind of put things together as far as structure things like that. He'll be a builder. He's going to be a builder and successful with it. The other talent that he has is his body. He's athletic and really strong. So what is he best at? He's really smart and he's coordinated and an athlete. So, it's nice to know that. And of course you can combine them together. He could be a coach. He could be so good at athletics that he's teaching other people other kids how to do that. So, so as an astrologer, it's like, well, he's really smart and he's really good with his body. Gee, you could kind of combine those two together, right? Which would be like a coach. Even if he's not coaching soccer or something, he kind of has a coaching quality. Like, hey, you can do this. Let's try it and let's move forward. So he's going to be really fun to be with and to hang out with, and you're going to learn from him like pretty early on. I know he's only 4 months old, but like pretty soon you're going to be learning from him. So
I'm already learning so much from him.
I bet.
I know you, it probably takes the thousands of charts that you've done, but how can you tell whether a chart is more your homework or more your mission?
Not an easy answer. You kind of know, you have to know astrology well enough to really be able to see that. Now, it's easier to see what houses they're in if you have a lot of planets in the first house of the self. More, it's either like a star or a hero or someone who's really figuring themselves out. So, and a lot of planets in the seventh house of marriage and relationships. It's a relationship chart. He doesn't have any, both of those houses are empty for him. So he's fine about who he is, and he's not going to be challenged with relationships. So, part of it is what houses are empty. Those like the clean with spots. And then, you look at what, then of course, planets. Planets are archetypes, like Mars is male, Venus is female. The signs of the personalities, braveries of Pisces with several planets in Aquarius, and the house is the area where it manifests, where it shows up. So you kind of combine them all together to see these different areas of strength. And then you throw in the geometry, the sacred geometry in the middle, and how do these different parts of his chart harmonize with each other, or how they challenge with each other. So, it's not, astrology is easy once you learn all the pieces and you can put it together. But when you're just looking at a chart and you don't know it, it looks kind of complicated. It's all these symbols. But, once you kind of figure out the symbols, and now you look at, now that I've interpreted his chart, you look at his chart and you can see what I'm talking about, can't you?
Yeah, I actually learned a lot. And another interesting insight for me was, if you're looking at a chart, it's a circle and then there's lines through it. And there's one line that goes right across the center like a diameter, or kind of like a horizon. And another thing that you were able to learn from it is the difference if there's a lot of planets below the horizon versus above the horizon.
Right. So the horizon, when you look at a chart, there's a horizontal line on the left-hand side of the chart. That's the eastern horizon. Everything rises in the east. All the planets rise in the east. The signs rise there too. And then, so that's the rising. It's called your rising sign. The bravery's rising sign is Sagittarius, which, by the way, means that he's going to be a good traveler. And you guys travel a lot, so he's going to be traveling with you really easily. So that's the sunrise. Noonday sun at the very top of the chart, sunset on the right-hand side on the horizon. So the top parts are in the light, and they're in the public eye, and how people are seeing them in the world. Then at the very bottom is the midnight position. So when Bravery was born, almost all of his planets after sunset and before sunrise, they were at the bottom of the chart, which the bottom hemisphere is more about, understanding who he is inside, spending time with his family. He's not going to be like a corporate 9-to-5 kind of a guy. He's not. Neither of his parents are, so he wouldn't. And so this is more like him being entrepreneurial and him doing what he wants inside. He's going to be really good. And we talked about being homeschooled. All the planets below the horizon would be really good for being homeschooled. And, with all the weirdness in the world right now, homeschooling is probably a good way to go, And so, the planets being at the bottom part of his chart is he wants to be home. He wants to be cozy. He wants to be with people. It's not really about ego and flashing, hey, world, look at me, I'm so cool. It's more like getting the work done and being involved. So, you can see the group, where the grouping of planets is. Now, his chart is easier to see because they're all on one side. Most people's charts are more evenly spread out, so they're not just in one hemisphere or the other. But his were basically in the bottom hemisphere, which is the inner world, which is perfect for a Pisces. And one homework that I gave you, start meditating with him, start doing yoga with him, start breathing. If he gets, I had to learn when I was like 20 years old how to meditate and how to breathe. If you learned that when you were a year old, oh my gosh, So he's going to really be learning that with you and doing, yoga with, baby yoga or something, with you. And you live on a lake and he's Pisces. And I said, he'd be really good for swimming or really good with water. Are you around water? Yeah, we walk by the lake every day. You see, even that is perfect for his chart. Pisces sun, Pisces is about water. There are 4 elements in Western astrology: fire, earth, air, and water. Fire is enthusiasm, action. Earth, getting things done and accomplishment. Air, like me, communicating and talking. water, emotions, and feelings. So it's the healers, it's compassionate, and it is about water. So him being a water baby, living on a lake, is part of his destiny, really.
And my whole pregnancy, almost every single day, I meditated for 40 minutes. I did yoga until I couldn't do yoga anymore.
Yeah.
And he still loves to watch me do yoga. And I think it's like the expansive poses. He thinks I'm like putting on a show for him. But one of the other things that I do is when he's upset, I know that so much of a baby's emotions, their temperature, like just their system is regulated against the mother. And since I wear him a lot, when he's upset, I will be really intentional about breathing deeply and try to kind of synchronize that. And I've noticed it does calm him down. So it's already working.
Right, that's it. See, you're already doing it. You really are. And then doing yoga, and stretching, as you were pregnant. It's kind of all part of what he's used to, even. And he came in as a Pisces sun. He's natural with this. Pisces are the healers and the spiritual sign of the zodiac. So he kind of came in with that already. It's not, a surprise that, you hold him, you wear him, you breathe with him. What a perfect setup for him. He's a lucky little one, I'll tell you. It's true. He came with a good family.
I know that most people who were children at some point have looked up their chart against their crush's chart in some sort of online relationship compatibility thing. What does it say if you look that up and you and your baby's chart don't seem to be compatible? Are those too simple to really have any meaning?
Well, once again, you have to really know what you're looking up. And a lot of the online things are kind of negative, I have to say. Well, if you're a Scorpio, you can't get along with a Leo. Well, my dad was a Scorpio. My mom was a Leo. And they were married for, 50, 60 years, right? So, a lot of the basic compatibility things, I don't think are accurate. So, looking at, this sign doesn't get along with that sign. All signs get along with every other sign. Every sign gets along with every other sign. Now the trick is to be the highest level of the sign. If you're an Aries, you want to be the inspirational and the energized Aries instead of the angry Aries. So if you're an angry Aries, you wouldn't get along with maybe a Pisces that would be very easily hurt. But if you're the inspirational Aries, that wants to help people, the Pisces, hey, you were such a good artist, I'm going to help you do your art, then the Aries and the Pisces would all automatically get along. So there are no signs that are incompatible. But the trick is being the highest level of each sign so you get along with all the signs. There's a little bit of a trick with that. But, the mother and the baby's chart will be compatible or else they wouldn't be in the same family. So I wouldn't really look for, are these signs incompatible? Because a lot of that is kind of basic. And there's a lot of negative astrology out there. There's a lot of astrologers that are just you're beginning astrology. They haven't done 50,000 charts like I have. And so they're putting things out that are maybe not as accurate or not as positive as they could be. So overall, astrologers can be kind of vague, and they can be kind of exploitive and negative. And, I'm here to kind of counterbalance it. My purpose in astrology is to make it accessible. My purpose in life is to make astrology accessible to the world so people can understand it more easily and to bring positivity. And my purpose in doing a chart is to empower and uplift. To empower and uplift. It's not to warn or, be careful. It's like, no, it's to empower and uplift, to know the positive, the best part of you. And then you can reach to being that best part of you. So a lot on, you kind of be careful with what's on the internet because a lot of it is really, really basic and not as positive as it could be.
Well, the final thing I want to ask is, if anyone can relate to having a baby recently, I'm sure you've gotten the same comments that I have, where people are like, "Oh, you're bringing a baby into the world right now," and I know it's even scaring people away from having children who may have always wanted that, and their plans are kind of on hold because they're like, "Is this a good time?" So I'm curious, as somebody who's able to see a little bit deeper than the surface level, what would you have to say about that?
that every chart is perfect. I mean, the child knows it wants to come in at this certain time. I mean, we need strong spirits now. We need, independent people that know that they can, help the world. So babies are going to be being born, that will always happen. And we need really strong, positive ones. So I wouldn't hold back, from getting pregnant if that's what you want to do, because these kids are kind of incredible. Actually, all the charts that I've done are pretty amazing for these new ones. So, don't feel bad. I mean, they came here to want to help change the world in a positive way. So I would not be afraid about that.
I like to tell people, trust the divine design. And one of the best ways to follow your intuition is to follow your true heart's desire. So if you do have a desire to have a child, then trust that might be meant to be, and that there are souls waiting to be born into your family with the
Absolutely.
Perfect match.
And you can always say, the 60s, it was volatile. The 80s, it was, you can always kind of blame the world for not having a good time. 2001. Ooh, not a good year. But, babies who were born during that time. So the babies, when they're coming through, they're not like, I want to make it easy and I want to go through just like I have a comfortable life. They came here to work. They came here to get things done. So sometimes they wanted to jump in when it was really juicy. And we're in a juicy time right now. So we need new ideas. We need new input. We need the young ones that will come up with new ideas to help change the world in a positive way. So I would let all that go. If you really feel like you're supposed to, bring a new one in, the new one's the spirit is talking to you already.
Well, thank you so much, because I have gotten so much from our time together this week, not just from this interview, but also from the reading. And I've also been going through some of your books. You even have a newer book about the future of the United States. It's written in the stars. So what astrology is telling us about our world right now. And so For the listeners that are interested in learning more about you, your books, your work, and possibly getting a reading from you for their baby, where's the best place for them to connect with you?
They can just email me, Susie at susiecox.com. My website is susiecox.com. And all my books are found on Amazon. And I've got a lot of them. I've written 6, and I've got 2 more in the works that are coming out in the next couple of months. So I'm a prolific Gemini writer. And of course, it's all about making astrology positive and easy so we can understand and know who we are.
All the links mentioned in this episode will be at mindlove.com/194, including a link to Susie's website to where you can actually get your baby or child's birth chart done as well. So your challenge for this week is to dive into a natal chart, whether it's yours, your baby's, your partner's, somebody you love. You can actually get a whole chart done for free online. There are things that a professional astrologer will be able to tell you that you won't be able to see for yourself, but there's still so many insights that you can get from doing this on your own. My favorite app for this is called Time Passages. It is by far the most thorough horoscope app that I've ever found. You'll get your whole natal chart, your rising sign, your moon sign, your sun sign. It has different readings for you specifically based on those things every single day. So it is really, really in depth. But if you want to go a step deeper, you can find somebody like Susie and get a whole reading done. And I have gotten multiple readings done, and they are so very insightful. You can actually find a previous episode where I got my own reading done and we discussed it on the show. So let me know how it goes. Share this on social media and tag Mind Love Podcast and Mind Love Melissa. If you know somebody who this might be interesting to, maybe they just had a baby or they are struggling to understand certain aspects of their children or their partner, tap that little share button. It's the ... on the top right corner. It'll give you a bunch of options, including share, and you can share it right through text message or on social or whatever. If you are looking for ways to support the show, if Mind Love has been helpful for you, support one of my amazing sponsors. All of these companies are so great. I am huge fans of the products and services of them all. So that's a really great way to give to the show. That's also a win-win for you. It encourages sponsors to sponsor more episodes because they see that people are actually resonating with the products. So I would be super grateful for that. Or the absolute best way to support me is by joining Mind Love Premium. You can do that at mindlove.com/premium, or now you can join right from the Apple Podcast app. And that is all for today. So thanks for giving your mind a little love today, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning into Your Higher Frequency with Mind Love. Head to mindlove.com for a free gift to keep your vibes up until next week.